Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you all back to the Under the Headset channel with me, Coach Mike D, and I've got one today that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. We get a chance to sit down with a gentleman who's a head coach of a college in Illinois who has a long history of winning and excellence. He's one win away from 100 as a head coach, coming off a 10-1 season, a 2024 Midwest Conference championship, and is developing some great players out there, producing some really, really good men, and doing a fine job as also the vice president of the college, as well as the athletic director. So he's got his hands full, and he's got his finger on the pulse of that entire organization, and they are doing it right. So I encourage you to stay in there for this one. They're also, and more importantly, or as important, I guess I should say, getting ready to create history in Arizona. They will be playing the first ever Division III football game in Arizona, September 6th at Hamilton High School. So I encourage you all to go check that out, see that program, see how they operate, see how they move, and I think you'll agree with what I said earlier about how quality of an organization they truly are. And so I encourage you to stay for the whole video. We've got a really cool video talking a little bit more about their upcoming game in this video. And we've also got a really fun rapid fire question round closer to the end that I think you'll enjoy as well. So again, thanks for watching, and we're going to dive right into it. Here we go.
Doing great, Mike. Appreciate you having me on. It's the middle of our preseason camp up here right now, and so this is a welcome respite from maybe some huddle watching and grading of film and stuff from our joint practice yesterday. So I appreciate it. It was great, man. We got out of it healthy, and that's the number one goal of the deal. And I think some of our guys got some really good reps. We're really young on the offensive side of the ball, so I think that was a positive. And, the nice part is we've got another one this upcoming week where we'll have another, we're not doing scrimmages. We're doing true joint practices. We're doing 7-on-7 against each other, inside run, drives, 2-minute drills, whatever. So having another one of those this week, I'm really, really geeked for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in upstate New York, a little town called Rome, New York. I was third generation there. Military town with an industrial complex, so as the kind of became the Rust Belt, some of the companies moved out, but the military base moved out after my senior year of high school. And, it's still a great town. It's an immigrant town of, Italians and Irish and Polish, predominantly is what it kind of started as. And, a great place. Got a chance to grow up and go to Rome Free Academy, which is one of the legendary programs in the state of New York. Played for 3 Hall of Fame coaches and in the football side of things. The assistant coaches were so good, they got put in the Hall of Fame. So it wasn't just the head coach. They had Tom Hoke was the head coach, and then the 2 guys that were super influential on me on the football side were Don Bruce, who was our defensive coordinator, and Tom Myslinski, who was the offensive defensive line coach. And those guys helped raise me through the game of football. Played 3 sports in high school. Basketball coach, a guy named Buddy Evans, was super influential on me growing up, running the youth leagues in the summer and keeping us knuckleheads out of trouble and in the gym all the time. And I think that was probably one of the things that, I always respected, is those guys gave their summers before summers were a thing. And it wasn't to the varsity kids because they couldn't go with them. But they had all the youth kids up until 9th grade that would be in these programs Monday through Friday. And the park district actually provided lunches from the school cafeteria so that we would stay there and keep working out. And so grew up in a place that was, really valued sports. My grandfather was a quarterback at the same high school that I went to. And so, there was good tradition there and a lot of great memories going to that place.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, head out to a small middle of nowhere 4 cornfields in southern Illinois school called Greenville College. Never even heard of it until right before my senior year. But they were a place that was going to let me play football and basketball.
Nice.
So I know my body type doesn't look like it now, but I was a basketball player too.
Okay.
And I went out there, and they were about half the size of my high school. So my high school was about 1,700 students and 1,600 students. I went to a college that had about 850 students when I got there. And it was a great experience. I got a chance to have some of the closest relationships still in my life 35 years later, or, 25 years later, whatever it's been, came from that college experience. And they're people that I talk to on the daily. And I feel like every day somebody from that group of core people at that time in my life I'm still talking to. Received great mentorship there from some professors and some alumni. And it was a kind of place where you go to the college and you actually know the president of the college by name. And he refers to you as Cat and knows about you and knows those types of things. And that's a pretty special thing if you can find it. And I was fortunate to experience that. Played 3 sports there. In college, which you could do back then. They changed the basketball schedule. Now basketball starts October 1st, so it used to be November 1st, so you could play both. I think it's a little harder now. But had a chance to do that, and then right away decided to get into coaching after I did my student teaching and decided I don't want to be a junior high English teacher anymore. So once I decided that, I talked to one of my coaches, and he said, why don't you go to be a graduate assistant, and that'll get you a chance to get your master's paid for. I said, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
And little did I know where he'd be sending me. So that was when things got a little bit more challenging. But yeah, some people tell you to do a lot of other stuff because I'm the athletic director here and a few other things. So maybe I'm not just a coach anymore. I grew out of that, but I still think that the 2 hours that I spend on the football field with our players is pretty darn rewarding, and it's where the social piece for me of the relationship I have with my assistant coaches and the relationship that I have with my players as they kind of go from 18-year-old high school graduates to going out into the workforce and then coming back as dads. I relish those relationships, and that's what motivates me. I mean, I told everybody if recruiting and sales are very similar, and you can go make a lot more money selling number 2 pencils for Ticonderoga than you can recruiting kids to a D3 school. So the relationship piece and that developmental piece and seeing that growth matters so much more to me. That's the part that I don't know that I want to do anything else. Well, I appreciate it. If I'm going to ask them to move halfway across the country, it better not be built on a lie. You know what I mean? It can't be on a house of cards. It's got to be something with a solid foundation. And I just had one of your former guys, I think from Chandler JV days, Jamari Tansmore, came back into town probably about 3 weeks ago and had breakfast with me and Coach Scott, and we introduced this to his girlfriend. And so when those types of things, as a guy who's now been gone for 4 to 5 years, but he wanted to come up here and have us meet her and show her part of his history of college and things like that. I thought that was a tremendous, tip of the cap of like exactly how those relationships are supposed to be and how we try to keep them in growth. Yeah, I think there's probably 3 things. One is that it's not a step up for some of the high school guys. I think they think, oh, it's not scholarship football, so it can't be any good. And, I think that when you watch that the number 10 team in Division III last year, I think was Wisconsin lacrosse, and they played the number 2 team in Division II at Grand Valley, and it was 14-7 game. And, there's been other times where Wisconsin Whitewater has gone out and beat the NAI national champions in a game or, played at very high levels. And so I think that individuals who are not as familiar with it sometimes think that, D3 is this lower level, but they don't realize it's still a step up from high school.
Sure.
We may not have, all the money and all the resources that, the University of Alabama has, but we've still got some pretty good stuff to develop our players. I think the second thing is that it's not affordable, especially places like Arizona where there's not Division II and Division III schools to compare it to. People are like, I don't qualify for financial aid because they don't receive the Pell Grant. Well, we have a $130 million endowment, and we've got a scholarship fund that helps supplement that. And there's not a single kid from Arizona that's paying, the full tuition, room, and board to go to school here because they're receiving scholarships, grants, aid, and things like that. That I just think that sometimes there's an educational process that people don't understand, that the private schools are not governed like the large state schools are. So it's not as black and white. There's not as much red tape, and they can try to make things a little bit more personal. And for each family that's got a little bit different situation, try to help them out. I think the third part is, I don't know that people in division, out in the world know some of the coaches that, some of these Division III staffs have on their staff in terms of talent or how close they are to some of the Division I guys. I mean, I like it, the Sirianni brothers. You got one's the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles and the other's the head coach of Washington and Jefferson in Pennsylvania. You look at my coaching staff, and I've got a guy, Tim Spencer, on my coaching staff. Big Ohio State alum, was the number 2 all-time leading rusher when he graduated from Ohio State. Coached in the Big Ten for 10 years, coached in the NFL for 15 years with the Bears and Bucks. He's my running back still. Wow. I think if he's good enough to coach at that level, he's a pretty darn good coach for us. And I just think the quality of the educational process that people get, you add that with the type of coaching, the financial resources that are available. I think it should be a much bigger option for a lot more people that maybe are not aware. Yeah, it started off when I was at the scholarship level. I recruited the JCs out there when they had the really big junior college league. When I came to Lake Forest, we weren't really a place where the junior college kids seemed to fit in terms of the academics or in terms of the career paths, the education that they were looking for. And so, I started asking some of the coaches down there that I'd gotten to meet, where do the high school kids go to play small college football? I'm like, well, they really don't. They either go to, they said they go to NAU. I'm like, well, NAU is not a small school. That's a one double, Division I AA FCS program. I said, that's not a small school. Where they go play D2 and D3. And at that time, they really weren't going anywhere other than maybe the University of San Diego if they were high academic, highly affluent person. Everybody else was just kind of not playing. And so I started to reach out. And I said, well, I'm going to try to reach out to some of these high schools and see if I can find a couple of guys. And the first guy we found, just phone recruit, not going out there, was a kid from Basha High School. His name was Steve Yenna, was a tight end. The connection to him was his grandfather lived in Vernon Hills, which is 15 minutes from our campus. And so there was this, personal reason. The next year we got another kid from Desert Vista, and it was his dad that really helped open my eyes to the high school football in Arizona. BJ Varsity was his name. He had played at Arizona State for Frank Kush on the Rose Bowl team back in the days of kick returner. And he started bringing me newspapers, clippings, and we couldn't get it online back then. So he started bringing the actual newspapers every day with all the scores, and he'd circle some of the players that he went out and saw, and he'd go to games on Friday night and fly up here and bring me pictures.
That's awesome.
And so he got a press credential to take pictures on the sideline and would develop all these pictures just so I would have them. It'd be so much easier with a camera phone now.
Yeah.
And so he started bringing me these things, and the next year we got 8 kids. And so I said, all right, well, I'm going to start traveling out there. And this is where things started to change for us. I started to go out there, and I go to the high schools, and it probably took me 3 years to not make the mistake of going to Centennial and then trying to be in Chandler next. It was like, okay, here's the East Valley schools. Here's the West Valley schools. They're not just all Phoenix-based schools. Trying to figure that out. And I kept going back. And I think that for some of the coaches, seeing that consistent face of it was always me. I never turned it over to a part-time assistant coach or something like that. It was me year after year, and they heard the consistency of what I was saying didn't change. Then they started to hear about players who were coming up here, maybe not from their school, but from one of their, their league schools or somebody else. And the coach and those parents were talking great about us. And it was when that started to go that we really started to take off. And then, now I'm there in state probably 40 to 45 calendar days a year when our guys are out of classes here, and trying to find that next group of guys to come and spend time with us and be a Forester. So it's been great. There's no D2 or D3 school still there in the state. So we still have the ability to say that we are Arizona's Division III school. And I take great pride in that.
For the first time in D3 football history, a game will be played in Arizona. On September 6th at 6 p.m. at Hamilton High School in Chandler, Arizona, Lake Forest College from Lake Forest, Illinois will play Claremont Mud Scripts from Claremont, California. The game is being played there because Lake Forest has over 50 players from Arizona, giving their family and friends a chance to see their student athletes play, and additionally recruits a taste of D3 football. Anyone in Arizona remotely considering playing D3 football should attend this historic and competitive event. Lake Forest has recently dominated the Midwest Conference taking home conference titles 3 of the last 4 seasons. And Claremont Mud Scripts has positioned themselves as one of the better teams in the SCIAC, going as high as being the conference runner-up in 2022. The Stags agreed to play this game because their head coach Kyle Sweeney previously coached with Forrester's head coach Jim Catanzaro together at an all-star game. But most importantly, the Chandler Unified School District is collaborating with both teams to make this the best game that it can be, covering key expenses and enhancing the game day experience with its own students, including a color guard, anthem singer, marching band, and cheerleaders. Huge shout out to the Chandler Unified School District for helping make D3 football happen in Arizona for the first time in history.
I can't wait to get there, man. We're about 2 weeks away from being down there, and I think our guys are starting to get that itch to get home and, maybe get some In-N-Out burger and go get a couple of go get a football win for sure. Yeah, we actually have the gauntlet, the first 3 games of the year. We've got, after we play them, we play Illinois College and Monmouth, who have been the other 2 teams kind of at the top of the Midwest Conference for the last 3 to 4 years. Illinois College won the conference championship in 2023. Monmouth tied with us in 2022 for it. And so, we're going to be, we got some big games early, and we got to be, playing with a sense of urgency, practicing with a sense of urgency, and making sure that our guys are focused. But right now, we just got to worry about Claremont. It's not about those other games down the stretch. It's really about that first game, keeping that the focus. There's a lot that goes with that can be a distraction. There's going to be the travel. We're going to be getting out there, getting to the heat acclimatization, because it's going to be probably about 35 degrees warmer in Arizona than it is in Chicago right now. And, we got to get our guys right and make sure they're doing all the right things for their bodies, and not get distracted by the fact that it is kind of, it's a home game for 50 of those guys that they've never had a chance to do. But also not letting them put additional pressure on themselves because their family and friends are going to be in the stands, and, focusing on the task at hand, man. That's if we can keep them locked in on that, we'll be just fine. Day game, 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. Keep it where it's supposed to be for college football, but I will say that in Arizona, let's keep it a night game. I want that 20-degree temperature drop. RPOs are triple options, so I'm going to say run. Oh, wow. This is going to sound weird, but for me, it's country roads.
Okay.
It gets played when our team gets together on the field, and there's a story behind it. And so with that, I'm going to go with country roads.
Okay.
I don't need the high amped up, blood pumping stuff like I did when I was playing in the 90s. Now as a coach, I prefer to be a little calm. Neither. Humorous and laughter make it kind of be a little bit more relaxed when we come out to the field. The program. The New York Jets, but it's got to be against the Buffalo Bills. I've been a lifelong Jets fan, but I grew up amongst a ton of Buffalo Bills fans during their heyday when they went to 4 straight Super Bowls, and I had to hear a lot of stuff, and I just need one win. I need to go 1-0 in that game, and then